Well, this is kind of a fun day. It's starting pretty early. Got a pretty good drive ahead of me. A little over 4 hours, barring no surprises with some of the construction that's showing up. But the event today is a gathering of S-Scale folks at someone's home. I've been invited by a friend of mine, Brad, and so I'm going to have the opportunity to meet some new folks, which is always cool, and see a new layout, which is always cool. And I've also brought along a few things because there's going to be opportunities for, kind of sharing what you're doing, trading stuff, selling stuff, whatever. So brought a few things for show and tell, and a few things that maybe can find a new home, and kind of excited to see what I can see. Start with the layout.
My layout isn't much. I'm not much of an electrician, so I don't have a nice layout. But I'm not a box man, so I never did much with boxes. That's got some good stuff in there.
Well, I haven't seen a case that doesn't have good stuff in it yet.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I got a lot of stuff that I started collecting in '88, and I got a lot of stuff that I never see but one of.
Is that right?
And that's the one you see.
I don't even know how to capture. It's just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. My goodness. Now, when you said something about your wife told you this has to get under control, so you moved into the garage. You've got more of this in the garage?
No, I got cars in the garage.
Oh, cars in the garage. Okay.
This I used to have cars in here, but I got rid of some of the cars and made room out of this just to put trains in.
I gotcha.
Well, it wasn't too bad to start with. I had cabinets with no trains in them.
Uh-huh.
It's not that way no more.
Wow. Yeah, you've got such nice examples of some engines here. It's really.
See, this cabinet down here has one of blue in it.
Okay.
It has a 332 smoking tender in it. And most of this is painted stuff. Some of it. No, that cabinet there has the old and the new.
Right. What floors me about someone like yourself, and I know you're not alone, because there's many other people that have collections that, may be similar to yours, is most of my years growing up, I had no idea there was this much flyer anywhere, maybe in the entire world, but there are people.
My older son says, "Dad, you ought to put that in a museum."
Yeah. It was a little challenging to video accurately what was in the cases for a couple reasons. Number one was there was just glare off the glass. So if I was too far away, you couldn't really see what was in there. The second thing that happened is when I got up close, because I was drooling so much, I got slobber all over the glass, which then again made it hard to see. But all joking aside, what I do want to do following here is using Doyle's book. I'm going to zero down on just a couple of the examples that Bob had in his collection that, well, several of them I've never seen in person, and one or two of them I've never actually seen other than in a description. So I hope you find this interesting. I know I did. Car number 24067 Keystone Line. This uncatalogued orange boxcar was produced in 1960 as a promotion for Keystone Camera. On its side was printed the Keystone Line and fastest route to top profits in black. The car had opening doors held in place with black metal door guides, themselves retained by rivets. This car has a scarcity rating of 8, which is the most scarce. And the price for it is, we'll just say, a lot. The 718 New Haven or American Flyer Lines operating mail pickup car was sold between 1946 and 1954. The car duplicated the action of a railway post office picking up mail while the train was in motion, achieving this replication by the use of a solenoid-actuated stamped metal mail pickup arm. The car had 2 opening baggage doors on one side and a non-operating door on the other side. The car was packaged with the 7-Eleven mail pickup pole, 2 mail bags, and a control button. The earliest of these cars had an unpainted red body with a red painted mail pickup arm and plastic frame. The scarcity of these cars is a number 7. The 643 American Flyer Circus flat car. This car was offered from 1950 through 1953. The car had sheet metal trucks and link couplers. The lettering on the car read American Flyer Circus, but the number was omitted. The cargo of the flat car consisted of a truck, tractor, and 2-wheeled cages with animals. The truck tractor is most commonly found in green, although red as well as yellow examples are sometimes found. Cages were produced in blue, green, red, and yellow versions. The cage design varied slightly during the production run, but these details are of little consequence to most collectors. Reproductions have been made of all the load items, both of die-cast metal and, like originals, of plastic. Type 1, of which were the earliest flat cars, were designed in die-cast, and they had their loads retained by 6 metal boxcar door guides that were riveted to the deck of the car. Some of these cars were yellow. The Type 3, which is pictured here, had a wooden strip as a cargo retainer, and the body was painted red rather than yellow. And these cars have a scarcity of 7. Additionally, the color of the animals inside the cages also affects rarity, hence value. And animals that are yellow or blue tend to be the hardest to find. And as you will notice in these pictures, those are the colors of the animals in these cages. Additionally, the red tractors are more rare, and so that's also pictured on these cars. So all told, between the color of the flat car, the color of the tractor, and the color of the animals, these cars are quite a rare piece. Number 21129. The 1958 edition of the New York Central 464 Hudson had an operating headlight, smoke and choo-choo all mounted in the boiler, while an air chime whistle was installed in the 6-wheel truck-equipped tender. The 2-position reverse unit was mounted on the back of the motor, and on the back of the tender was an operating knuckle coupler. The black painted plastic tender was decorated with an oval New York Central System herald and serif American Flyer Lines lettering, both printed in white. The 21129 came in a Type 1 and Type 2. Both of these have a scarcity rating of 8. Type 1, which is pictured here, had white tires and were built with a one-piece chassis. Type number 2 had unpainted aluminum tires and were built with a two-piece chassis. Beginning in 1949, the number 637 MKT, or the Katy, plastic yellow boxcar began being produced, and in 1953 through 54, it was renumbered 937 and gained knuckle couplers. Then, apparently they ran out of the 913s because Gilbert actually had to go back and make more boxcars. The new 5-digit MKT boxcars, number 24016 or number 937, were produced in 1958. And this version of cars had a yellow painted side and Tuscan painted ends and roof. The molded-in grab irons and ladders were painted black. The sheet metal door guides were mounted using rivets, and the trucks had centered iron side frames and knuckle couplers. These have a scarcity rating of 8. Number 635 C&NW Railway crane was produced between 1946 and 1949. The Type 1, or earliest cars, were made from a plastic flat car which often warped. So in 1947, they came out with a great painted flat car that was die-cast, and these were considered the Type 2. Fast forward to 1948, and the placement of the decals on some of these crane cabs was reversed, with 655 on the left and American Flyer lines on the right. Those were considered a Type 3. However, there was a variation to the Type 3 considered a Type 4, and this happened sometime in 1948, where the crane got a minor overhaul. The number 635 was omitted completely from the car, and the roof of some of these cars were unpainted blue steel with a chrome stack. These cars have a scarcity that is undetermined, as they are too rarely traded to determine an accurate value. In 1958, an orange unpainted refrigerator car with the letters Simon's Carload Bargain Sale was produced. This car had a sheet metal frame, no brake wheel. It had trucks with centered iron side frames and solid, non-operating knuckle couplers. This car is extremely rare with a scarcity rating of 8. Between 1963 and 1964, the number 24124 Boston and Maine gondola was produced. These cars had white lettering and came with Pike Master couplers and trucks. The Type 3 was known to be painted and has a scarcity rating of 7. In 1958, the number 24409 Northern Pacific boxcar was produced. It had these beautifully painted orange sides and Tuscan roof and ends. It was decorated with black lettering and a multicolored decal of the Northern Pacific logo. The car had one-piece brake wheel, sheet metal frame, operating knuckle couplers, and centered iron frames. It has a scarcity rating of 8. In 1960, American Flyer introduced the number 23743 track maintenance car. Hand cards had become obsolete on railroads and were replaced by motor cars. Perhaps it was the image of such motor cars that American Flyer hoped to evoke with this car. It remained in the line through 1964 and had an unpainted yellow plastic body with black markings. A small Japanese-made motor rated at a maximum of 9 volts powered the car, which came in a clear pack box. The 5-digit had a scarcity of 6. There were a few rare examples of the number 23743 car that have been found where there are markings that only have the last 3 digits or 743. These cars were also packed in clear pack boxes, and the boxes were numbered 23743. These cars with the special numbering have been traded too rarely to establish either scarcity or pricing. Between 1957 and 1958, the number 24519 Pennsylvania depressed center flat car was produced. It was painted in Tuscan red, and on the cargo was a single gray Western Electric cable reel. The car had knuckle couplers, and its six-wheel trucks had sintered iron side frames. This car, according to Doyle, has a scarcity rating of 8. So I hope after watching this video you come away with some takeaways, or maybe it'd be better if I say after I went through this experience, I come away with some kind of renewed perspective on the hobby of model railroading, specifically American Flyer. As I listened to Bob and others in that group talk, it was pretty evident that there was a theme in that group of gentlemen that focused in on the rare and the unique. And I thought it was kind of cool. I've not been in that environment before, and so I came away both in awe of some of these really rare pieces, but then also in awe that the hobby has so much to offer. You know, it's really one size fits all. So you may have someone that, like we saw at Bob's house, he really pursued the more rare things, the one of a kind or the limited edition, if you will. And yet I also heard stories of people in the same group that were content to just have some Flyer. They'd had it as a kid, and they added to their collection, and they were okay with not having the super rare stuff, and they enjoyed operating their things, operating their engines. You know, Bob was less into operation and more into watching and looking, and I thought that was cool. And I hope that each of you watching this is kind of running through your mind, what is it about the hobby that I enjoy? And if you haven't figured that out, it might be worth spending some time doing, because as described here, you've got all kinds of different ranges on a spectrum, and all of it's okay. So welcome to the hobby, and dive in, and whatever way you want to wear the hobby, feel free to do that, because it's good. It's really good. With that with those thoughts, I sign off and say thank you for your time, and until next time, God bless, take care, enjoy those American Flyer trains. We'll see you.